many organizations, many individuals engaged in helping refugees, accommodating refugees. And the question that we asked ourselves, how we can better coordinate and orchestrate these stakeholders to create more resilient society. And with that, we opt for more openness, more participation. That was too quick, so if you come back so more openness, more participation, resilience and public value. So we started with the project in 2022, focusing on the particular situation on the Ukrainian refugee crisis in the canton of Zurich, where we saw first the public administrations put under pressure to register refugees, to accommodate refugees, to make sure that refugees are in security. With the very basic idea to understand like what are actually the problems today that involve this coordination and orchestration of a crisis. And with this idea to see how we can help with digitalization and more particular with digital platforms to develop better reaction in crisis situation. That said, like we also received the funding from the digitalization initiative of the Zurich Higher Education Institutions, so the DITS. This is somewhere like you see it on our slides as a logo. This is the funding agency that supports us. They focus on different aspects, like also promoting digitalization in the canton of Zurich, but also in Switzerland, and they also support research projects. And in our research project, we look how we can resolve or address these key challenges related to collaboration, interoperability between different organizations in terms of processes and data exchange and non-interoperable systems sometimes, and challenges related to federalism in the country, and that there is no unified view actually on the process of a refugee coming to the country, being registered, finding an accommodation, providing social security, social help, and so on and so forth. So now if we come to the next slide. Not going here into too much detail, but we did quite a few analysis during the last 2 years since the beginning of the war. We had around 60 interviews with different actors involved in the crisis, both public sector organizations and private sector organizations, but also refugees, to get to know what experiences they made, what worked well, what not. Also host families, volunteers who supported refugees, for example, with translations into their native language, being registered at the municipality, for example. We also looked how we can extract and like how we can identify real need of refugees based on the social media, in particular Telegram analysis, Telegram data, because Telegram was one of the and is one of the main sources that was used in particular by Ukrainian refugee population in Switzerland, across Europe, to find answers to the most pressing questions. And what we looked at, how we can actually make the identification and like understanding of these needs more real time, more data driven. So if we move on, so now I mentioned like couple of points that we looked at, and what we also realized that the ecosystem is pretty complex. Here I don't want to go again into detail, but here we tried to map different organizations, different entities, and also individuals to different steps or different phases of the refugee-related processes from the moment the person arrives to the to accommodation, getting the medical insurance, integration, school enrollment for those families where it's relevant, searching job, leaving the country, and so on. So and you can see there are like multiple organizations involved, interconnected sometimes, not always, but the complexity is pretty high. So the question we're posing to ourselves, how we can actually better orchestrate their actions. So with this, I can hand over to Sasha.
Yep, thank you. I will start with defining what we mean by platforms. And also I will introduce some terms that we will use during the whole presentation. So for us, the platform, digital innovative platform, is something that allows different developers and providers to provide their services to users through this platform. And the main example for us would be App Store. And here we have 6 terms. 3 of them are related to roles and 3 of them to architecture. So these roles, they correspond to blue boxes on the left picture. For example, owner is this top box. In our case of App Store, it's just Apple, with all these developers, managers, and so on. The bottom box corresponds to the users. These are just holders of iPhones who use App Store. And the box in the middle, with developers, we call them complementors. So what they do, they use tools and rules provided by the owner to develop some services that will be used by the users. We call them complementary because they complement to the platform. Yep. And when we go to the architecture, here we have 3 layers. In the middle, we have the core. The core are the applications and functionalities that are provided by the owner itself directly to the users. So here, in our case, we have App Store and some built-in applications such as settings, photos, calculator, and so on. Then we have boundary resources. These are tools and rules that are provided for developers so that they could develop apps. And the biggest layer, we call it ecosystem. It includes all the applications that are available on our platform. And sometimes we include there all the users and complementers. So the ecosystem, it's just, ecosystem, how we call it in the biology. Let's go further to the concept of government as a platform. It lies in the intersection of government and the platform. So on the one side, it means that GAP provides governmental services to citizens. But from this platform side, it means that it's not only government who provides all the services, it's also some third parties who can provide their services through this platform. Here we have some examples. For example, if we look at e-government, Switzerland could be some example of e-government because we have some digital services that are provided by the government, but it's not a platform because there are no third parties who can provide their services through this platform. On the other side, we have platforms that are not GAP because, for example, as App Store, it's definitely a platform, but there is no government and no governmental services to citizens. That's why it's also not a GAP. So GAP, it's something that has both government and a platform. And the most important case, maybe not important, but most famous case is Estonian platform. And maybe we could have a look on the picture on the right. I will explain how it works. So their government developed a platform for citizens, and the government provides some services to citizens, these core services, but also the government provided some tools and rules for developers so that third parties, such as banks or health organizations or something else, they could provide their own services through this platform to citizens. So yeah, that's how GAB should work. And now we will go to the potentials of GAB in our case. So I will start with the situation before the crisis, what we had. Before the crisis, we had some refugees in Zurich, but there were not so many of them. That's why public administration could efficiently provide all the services to them. So these blue arrows, they correspond to the provided services. And these green lines, these are like working connections between different organizations. But then the crisis happened. Next slide, please. Yay. And the number of refugees increased. That's why some manual processes, for example, and manual connections between organizations appeared to be non-scalable. And that's why it became much harder for organizations to provide the services to refugees. And that was like sad and pretty expected part of a crisis. But now we can go to the next slide, and it will show us like good and unexpected part of this crisis response, that a lot of organizations and communities and people were involved in this crisis management. And some of them could establish connection with public administration, some of them could not, some of them provided services, some of them struggled to provide the services. And now if we look at this picture through the lens of government as a platform approach or language, what can we see? We see that refugee are users and they are already here, and complementars are also already here, these organizations who want to provide the services. But what is missing? Tools and rules, this green ring, and also the core and the owner. So the idea of our project is to find an owner, develop the core, establish tools and rules, and see how it helps to orchestrate all these stakeholders involved in the crisis. And now I hand it over to Renjun, who will show you the prototype of our platform and how it could work during the crisis.
So thanks for the overview of the project. Now we've introduced the concept behind our platform, and now I will take us into a brief demo to show how it works in practice. As you've just heard, our platform can function as a standalone platform, providing all the necessary tools and services. It can also integrate into the broader government as a platform ecosystem. So it means some key functionalities like electronic identification, payment process can be reused in our platform. And now let's listen to the story of the refugee named Olena.
Hello, my name is Alina. Like many refugees, my journey has been difficult. I left my home and arrived in a new country, full of hope but also uncertainty. Navigating through unfamiliar systems, understanding the local language, and figuring out how to access basic services felt overwhelming. I didn't know where to turn for help. But then a friend told me about this platform, and it changed everything for me. It starts with the landing page, which has all the official information I needed in one place, easy to find, simple to understand. From how to access public services to where I can get help, everything was right at my fingertips. One feature that really stood out was the identification process. By connecting my ID wallet to the platform, I was able to raise my identity level. This made things much easier and faster when I needed to access services or verify my information. While I'm still waiting for my legal documentation from the Swiss government, the ID wallet allowed me to move forward, saving me time and reducing a lot of stress. Whenever I have questions about life as a refugee, like where to find housing or how to navigate the job market, I can ask Refugee PT, the platform's chatbot. It's available anytime, and I can get answers immediately to help with everyday challenges. Whether I'm confused about local rules or need advice on finding support, Refugee PT has been incredibly helpful. I also discovered the SUI app, which is an incredible tool. It helps me navigate the system quickly and provides personalized recommendations based on my needs, whether I need mental support or help with finding a job. When I needed somewhere to stay, the refugee host family matching platform connected me with a kind family who opened their doors to me. It's amazing how the platform brought us together in such a meaningful way. There are also other apps that I use every day. They help me track my progress, find resources, and even connect with the community. This platform really empowers me to rebuild my life step by step with the support I need along the way. It's more than just technology, it's a lifeline. Thanks to this platform, I now have the tools and support to regain my independence and build a future here. For me, and for others like me, this platform makes all the difference.
Okay, and if Zoya, you can jump to some pages with the complementer, like developer. No, like the former page.
The former,
Yeah, if you go to,
what do you mean?
if we show them the screenshot of the apps page. So in the apps page.
You mean within the video? Sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Uh,
Let me try. This one?
Yeah. So at here, as you can see, we reference the design of the App Store. We put every apps category, developer, and language here. So the developer is the complementers in our platform language. And then next, I will show the perspective of our organization or developer or complementer of their experience in our platform.
During a crisis, many organizations, like ours, want to help. But sometimes, the hardest part is knowing where to start. What do refugees and communities really need? How can we make the biggest impact with our resources? Before we found Crizzy, it was difficult to gather that kind of information quickly and efficiently. That's why our account on Crizzy has become such an essential tool for us. As soon as we signed up, we could create an organizational profile that showcased our mission, resources, and areas of focus. This allowed us to connect with other like-minded organizations and volunteers. One of the most powerful features is the data-driven analytics tool called R2G. It helps us understand real-time needs in refugee communities by providing data insights. We can see which areas are most in need of services like housing, medical assistance, or educational support. R2G uses data to guide us so we can direct our resources where they are needed the most. This has given us the confidence to act quickly and effectively. Another feature we rely on is the service registration function. We can register the specific services we're offering, whether it's volunteer support, language courses, or legal aid. Once our service is listed, refugees and other organizations can see exactly what we're offering and contact us directly. It's seamless and helps us avoid duplication of efforts. Crazy allows us to channel our desire to help into real, actionable support. Before, we were unsure of how to get started, but now, we can step up and provide the humanitarian aid that's really needed. It's not just about wanting to help, it's about helping in the right way. With the information and connections we've gained here, we're able to make a real difference.
Okay, thanks for listening. Well, as you can see, the platform can offer the functions for individual users and organizations as complementers. We still have some open questions. And now I will pass to Zoya so we can switch to another platform into our discussion.
Yes, so now let's come to a more interactive part where for us it's important to hear your opinion. And for that, we would actually switch now the presentation mode, and I'll share now on the chat the link to Miro board. And I ask you to follow the link, authenticate there. Just a second. And I will reshare my screen and meet you there. So it would allow us more flexibility for the discussion part.
So I think you can stop also the recording.
Yes, let me do that.